tournament now. 2 minutes play.
It's interesting that Nimi has banter to give, and Nimi never wins anything. I've played with your team for about 3 years now. You've lost
Uh-huh.
every single time I played against you.
Oh my
So
goodness.
You gotta remember, I
having
don't.
banter to give
I'll
breaks
give
my
it to
heart,
him.
Nimi.
Give
No,
it to
It does
him.
break my heart.
you gotta understand.
It's the only reason why that group chat is alive, because every day somebody is hitting on Nimi for just making up the numbers, and
But
he's the first to banter people.
But it breaks my heart.
you gotta remember, I'm neutral. I don't have a team. If I come, the other day I was playing with Green Eagles. Who else? I don't see me play with Green
Hey
Eagles
guys,
that day.
let's not make this too easy for Nimi. Let's forget about the great Eagles like that. Remember, let's go to the business of the day, because Nimi had a field day here last week, and I'm taking back my position. I'm anchoring the show today, and not Nimi.
Go ahead.
Where are we going to start? Let me start with Nimi. Is this Pep or the players? What's going on with Manchester City?
Man, thank you for having me today. As you can see today, I have my exotic Bayern Munich jersey, the Prince of Germany, the Kings of Germany. We got to support a team after my own heart, Bayern Munich. But I think personally, I think Pep this season, man, it's just not working out. From the top to the midfield to the defense. And there were so many gilt-edged chances that Haaland missed that they could have buried this game. And you look at that defense, I know they are dealing with injuries, but I felt like with Gueye coming in, that will be solidified. And what I'm seeing this season, it breaks my heart, as well as how painful it is for me. But this season, Pep is invariably just handing over the trophy to Arsenal. We are hoping, I'm hoping that they will get their acts together and make this Premiership season something that we neutral fans, can enjoy, towards the end, where
Okay,
it's
so
not like
Nimi, while you're there, right there, sack or keep Pep, is his time up in City?
I don't think you can just sack Pep just like that. No, his time is not up. I think he still has. If he sack Pep, who are you going to bring in? He still has the respect of the players. He still has that dressing room, and I think you got to keep him. The season is not over. It's just week 24. We still have 14 games to go. For Arsenal has to go to City. Arsenal has to host Chelsea too. So let's not forget about that.
I'll come back to you, Nimi. Uche, very nice to have you on the show. It's been, we don't know how much I've tried to get this big man on this show. He's too busy making a lot of money. He doesn't have time for Transit Sports TV. He stays in the back burner, but somehow today we pulled him out. And Uche, it's good to have you on the show.
To be honest, yeah, it's my pleasure to be here, and I've looked forward to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. Good to have you. So pick one for you, Uche. Like I was asking Nimi, Haaland has 2 shots on targets in 6 Premier League goals. He scored just 1 penalty goal in 6 games. And like Nimi said, that this time last weekend, people thought that City was going to, meet up with Arsenal and make this title race a very tight one. But today they dropped 2 points from a very good position against a Tottenham Hotspur team that barely laid a glove on them the first half. So what do you think is going on with this team? Is it like Nimi said, are you going to blame it more on Pep? Because if you look behind the last 1 year or like a year, season and a half now, Arsenal City has signed over almost 10 players. And for me, all these players are quality players. The only few I thought that were not good enough for City were I never rated Doku, Sevinho, and I think one more player. But Mamouche, Riders, Gehi now, Semenyo, and of course the best of them all, Donnarumma for me, are all quality players. These like 6 or 7 players that should, be able to impact a team. And they already have the foundation of that team before these guys join. So what is going on? Do you think he's going to be a Pep team, or are the players, are they, done with his philosophy? And, what should City do going forward from here?
So to ensure I have your question correctly, is what is going on with Man City, and
Yeah.
should the problem be placed or the fault be placed on Guardiola or the players?
Yes.
Uh, this is, in my opinion, from what I've seen in that team, is a rebuilding phase of the team. The team have won so much. They've grown so much. Now they're buying new players. They need to gel into the philosophy, need to play together. So right now they are rebuilding. And since last season, I told someone I didn't expect them to come challenge for the title this season. They're doing better than I expected in the sense that they are still number two on the table. But so how about these 10 players? It takes a rebuilding phase, you know. For Arsenal, someone said, but Arsenal bought players too, but Arsenal bought players in positions that were like for like. You know what I mean? There's no player that was new, as it were, or we need to play them in a different position. Saka, we have Madueke, the same thing. And those just read the script, run there, play the same. So this is a rebuilding phase for Man City, and I think it's unfair to Pep for everything he has won with City to say that, oh, it needs to go now. No, no, no. So the short answer to that is it's a rebuilding phase for them. They will come back strong. It's nothing to worry about, I believe.
Yeah, Ogumi and I have had this conversation a few times. I think you tend to lean towards what Nimi and Uche have just said right there, and I saw it in your head what they were speaking. But if
No,
you
not really. I was just shaking my body, not in my head.
So if there's another perspective to look at it, this thing that's happening to City now, even before they started buying this player, I've been, if you really want to be critical, like it's almost 3 seasons now, City have barely kept clean sheets. They've been having this issue. And I understand, I hear what Uche is saying. I understand it. If you are rebuilding and buying new players, it affects what you do. But I mean, to some defensive behaviors of this Manchester City team consistently doesn't look like it's just about, rebuilding phase. I don't know how you see this one.
There are very few managers in the world of football that are truly special. Those special managers tend to stay in a club, or they tend to be successful with different squads, more than 2 squads during their stay. When I say success, I mean consistent trophies with more than 2 squads. Now, Pep achieved his successes with 1 squad. Now, the time has come for Pep to use multiple squads, more than one. This is the second iteration that he is trying to do now. Now, squads that win trophies over a period of time, what I've noticed is that they are really special. When you are lucky, even for countries, you are lucky to have a golden generation of players that are capable of winning trophies and actually win those trophies. You keep them together for as long as you can, because do not expect that the next iteration or the next generation, no matter how talented they seem, will be as successful. That's one thing I've noticed in the world of football. So Pep, fortunately, got a group of players that were young enough, probably in their early 20s starting. They clicked and they won. They formed a dynasty and won multiple trophies. Now it was time. It's been time to replace them. And the truth of the matter is, no matter how much you invest, as we have seen, right? You can get a Tijani Reinders to replace Kevin De Bruyne. You can get whoever it is, Ryan Cherky, to replace starting from Mr. Silva to Bernardo Silva, the original Silva from Spain to Bernardo Silva and the rest of them. So you see that these guys are also good. Ryan Cherky is very skillful and all that, but they probably will not give you the trophies that those guys gave Pep, right? And so I give Pep a lot of credit because I think he's even overachieving, contending at this point for the league, having kind of phased out his winners, right? He's barely clinging onto Bernardo Silva, clinging onto Rodri, hoping that those guys will rekindle what they had in the past. But it's not easy. Bringing a Jeremy Doku to replace, trying to remember his successful wingers. One of them I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, that's what's happening as far as Pep is concerned.
I hear what you guys are saying, and what comes to my mind is starting as a Wenger, 22 years at Arsenal. The talk is always the last 10 years of his stay in Arsenal, we're not productive. And I don't know if this is where we're heading into. I don't know if football should learn from that. Maybe Pep should just leave City now, because what we're saying. Go Hold on, Nimi. What we're saying here is exactly what we said about Wenger, because he was still the same manager. We made excuses. They changed the way they play. They were not buying experienced players. They were buying young boys, this, that. And for 10 years, Arsenal couldn't compete for the title. So maybe football should learn from this. Like you mentioned, it's always difficult to come in, have a squad, you generate them, get a new squad, and still achieve with that squad. So maybe, without blaming Pep, maybe it's still him being the problem, which means probably he should be looking at leaving City right now, because like Ubu mentioned, this is a new set of players with new characteristics, and it looks like people like Foden a few years ago was better than Saka, and the reason was because of what Ubu mentioned. He has certain kind of players playing around him, and that helped him to develop. But now they're looking at him to become the main man, and it looks like he doesn't have that in him to be that leader, to be that person, to be that go-to man week in, week out for Syria. He has never been. You know, if you look around, Czech, like you mentioned, to score a special goal, but their attitude around the pitch, around the club, do they want to carry somebody else? No, they're not looking after themselves. So their City has a few players right now who probably don't have it in them, or because Pep, they are new to Pep, he has not seen them as being those guys that he can. Because today, if you watch that game, at every time it was Bernardo Silva he was going to, he was talking to, because maybe he doesn't trust these players, or he has not shown them that confidence that, yeah, I trust you to be the man to help me get things done. So he's still looking at Bernardo Silva to dig this team out. And like you mentioned, the energy level is low. He can't really, the motivation, I don't think is really there, because he has won a lot with City. Maybe that motivation is no longer there. Or him, just like Pep as well, looks around, there's no general around that he can say, hey, guy, let's get this thing sorted. So it's a big problem for City right now. If you ask me, I would just believe that if I was a City fan, I would pray Pep wins a trophy this season and let him just go, because it looks like what he has to offer, these players don't have the qualities to work with a coach like Pep. It's just like Mourinho as well, special one. There are certain type of mentality of player that he likes to work with, because if he pokes them, they react positively. But when he started using other kind of players, it's been hard for him to achieve the same thing he achieved in his career. This is the way I say it. Nimi, let's round up with City right quick.
I think it is quite hypocritical for the same thing we talked about last week. Now you're calling for Pep to, when the ovation is loudest, go. And I was saying the same thing for Arteta last week, and you said no.
No,
So I
there
don't,
are
I
two
don't,
different things.
no, they are not two, they are not two different things. They are not two different things.
Arteta is in Arsenal 5 years. This is the same squad, the core squad. He hasn't generated the squad. But talking about this, the team that Pep won with, they barely are left in City right now. So he's trying to build a new squad. And the characteristics of those players are different from what he has now. It's not, and I said it is not a shade on Pep. It just looks like maybe it's not going to work because of he has a new team, and that team is different from the team he had before.
But I beg to differ, because the spine of this City team is still the same team that has won before. You still have you still have the center back Ruben. You still got Ake. You still got Stone in the midfield. You have
even when Ake is fit, Pep doesn't.
But in the midfield, you have the former world best player. What's his name? Number 16. I'm just going blind right now. You still have Rodri. You still have in the attack. You still have Haaland there. So every team goes through the same thing. You have to. There's a rebuild. The same team. When Arteta came 5-6 years ago, how many of those players are still here in Arsenal right now? Apart from, Saka, maybe Saka. He had to change. The Aubameyangs, the Lacazette, Kesters, all those guys had to go. So I don't think it's
not the same team. Arteta made these players mentioning their name in Arsenal, and he started bringing in his own players. Now he built his own team maybe 2 years ago. So it's different from when Pep came to City. The players that he met in City, none of them is there now. He built his team, and that team is phased out. That's what we're saying. So there are two different things. When you build your team and that team phases out, to rebuild on the same job, like Ugu mentioned, it has always been difficult for countries, for coaches to do it. The only person that has done it and done it well, one way or the other, is Alex Ferguson. Almost every other coach that has stayed long in a club, when they achieve with that team to rebuild and still stay in that same job and still win, is always that. And this is not a shame on Pep. It's just historical fact.
I think, just for to round it up, I think it's not even about that. I think if you come with an argument that, it's time to change the voice in the locker room, because players have the same voice, the same voice. Okay, it's time for us to move on and get something fresh. But to say that a group of players, I'm just not looking at that, looking at it that
That's
way.
exactly what I'm saying. He happened in Liverpool as well. Klopp, did everything for Liverpool. He became stale. After a while, he just the same season, the next season, Liverpool won the league, the same players. So sometimes it might be the case. Ugu, you have anything to say, Uche, before we move on? But let me
No,
ask you,
no.
what happened to Spurs today? First half of that game, they couldn't, they are non-existent. All of a sudden, second half, I saw your chat, your post on the group chat about Spurs. Then all of a sudden, City could barely, do anything the second half.
Yeah, I was honestly both disheartened and disgusted by what I saw in the first half. And the reason I sent the message I sent was I actually deliberately watched them for 5 minutes. I saw Erling Haaland dribble past Romero and dribble past Romero, take 3, 4 steps behind Romero. And instead of Romero running to close him down, he kind of jogged on the same spot. Yeah, I was like, what is going on here? Like, I didn't see Tottenham players even making an effort. And I wondered whether I was going crazy. It was just me. I
Yeah,
went to BBC.
it was abysmal.
I went to the BBC commentary, and quite a few people were saying the same thing. Are Spurs trying at all? Are they just deliberately going through the motions? That's what it looked like in that first half. But fortunately, for the sake of the club, the sake of football in general, yes, I know that, yes, I wanted them to beat City, but it just hurts the integrity of the game for someone to just come and not make any effort at all. Maybe because of one reason or the other, maybe they just wanted their team to lose. But yeah, they showed in the second half that they're actually professional players and even good professional players at that. They gave it a fight, so that was good.
I agree with you. It was very abysmal, and the two things were going through my mind while I was watching that game. EPL this season, there's barely a game that you will watch that has the same game first half and second half of the 90 minutes. I was like, okay, maybe second half the EPL has shown us a lot of surprises this season. Maybe Spurs will just wake up from nowhere. Because and another thing, I was looking at City, they were dominant, but if you really look at it very well, they were not really like they were not doing anything special, but not like overly doing exceptional work on the field. So I said, okay, maybe Tottenham might have a way back. And credit to Thomas Frank, he made some changes there. Like you mentioned, Cristiano Romero, for the first time, I see Sports trying to get back into a game, and he's not on the pitch. For Thomas Frank to take him, I don't know if it was injury, I don't know
He,
if it was
he
a
got
mental
injured.
thing or
Yes, he got
something.
injured.
And then Pasuma as well. Use Pasuma. I remember when all Arsenal fans were crying for Arsenal to sign that player. He was one of the reasons why, as well, for me, that Tottenham couldn't do anything in that first half. And maybe the shape of the team as well, because Thomas Frank was playing a 5-man defense in the midfield. It was very easy for City. So yeah, it was good for football to see, like you mentioned, to see a different second half. And as Arsenal fans also, enjoy that one, better. So Uche, you have anything to say on that game before we move on?
Yes, I've got about 4 points for that. First and foremost, I was impressed with Xavi Simons. Even in the first half, I had to come back, saw the game over and over again. And among all the players, it was one of the persons that had that same hunger, that same drive, that same push in the first half. I was impressed. Two things I could notice from the poor display was lack of control and poor defensive shape. There was no control at all. They were playing like we don't trust the system, so we can't put our heart behind the system. And I don't know what Thomas Frank might have said in the dressing room. Maybe they gave them proper spanking. Listen, to be honest, they deserved it. Yeah, I won't be surprised. We're talking about Romero. One of the things that broke my heart, the chant that Haaland looked over. Dragonson was chasing, and Dragonson could not commit a foul because he was the last man. That would be a red. Romero could have just run further, even if not talking, just to make sure that he's not the last man and he can put more force to the tackle. And Romero gave up before Haaland touched the ball. You could see, so that's not the first time he did it. He did it 2, 3 times, and it was not in the game. Maybe he had a knuckle, he was struggling with an injury, but if that's not the case, then he was not the best today. The next is poor execution and individual mistakes. One of the goals, Bissouma lost the ball in the midfield. I think he's a fantastic player, to be honest. I think he's a great player. I love him. I love his work ethic and that. He lost the ball there and he kept chasing back to make it. But the team, if you look at the shape, lost the shape at the back four. So there were a lot of mistakes there, and you could see the frustration on the face of Thomas Frank. So that, I felt it was very terrible. Now, going back to further to the second half, I was impressed with Solanke and also, what's his name, Gallagher. It's great to see him back in the English game. You could see that fight, that drive. I don't know what was said in the dressing room, but they came out as professional players. With all due respect to the National League in England, they played worse than Sunday League, those boys in the first half. It was shambolic, to be honest.
Watch Stretch TV right now.